Alright, let's talk about carbines in Battlefield 6, those sweet middle ground weapons that sit perfectly between assault rifles and SMGs. They've got that ideal mix of range, power and control that makes them ridiculously fun to use. You're not spraying wildly like with an SMG, but you're also not locked into long range fights like a rifle user. Whether you're running around flanking enemies or locking down objectives, carbines just feel right, fast, flexible and surprisingly deadly. Now, here's the thing. Every carbine in Battlefield 6 can shine if you know how to handle it. Some hit harder, some feel smoother, and others reward precise aim with insane consistency. But which one is truly the best? That's what we're breaking down today. We'll compare each carbine head to head, see how they perform in different scenarios, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one deserves that top spot in your loadout. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The M277 is one of those guns in Battlefield 6 that might not look flashy at first glance, but once you understand how it works, you start to appreciate just how reliable it is. This carbine is all about consistency. Every shot you take deals a solid 25 damage, and it stays that way all the way up to 80 meters. That means you are getting predictable damage no matter what range you are fighting at, which is a big deal in a game where damage drop-off can ruin your gunfights. Now, the M277 comes with a built-in suppressor, which is a huge plus. Staying off the minimap while laying down steady fire is a tactical advantage, especially if you like flanking or playing a bit more stealthy. But here's the catch, it is not the easiest weapon to control. The recoil on this thing is brutal. Even with the right attachments, it feels like the gun is fighting back against you. You really have to learn to tame it, or it will throw your aim all over the place. The best way to handle that recoil is by burst firing or switching to single shot mode. If you go full auto at long range, you are basically asking your bullets to decorate the sky instead of hitting your target. In single shot mode though, the M277 turns into a laser beam. You get to take advantage of that consistent damage and precision without fighting against the weapon's kick. It takes discipline, but it pays off big time once you get used to it. Compared to other carbines like the QBZ-192, the M277 definitely feels harsher to use. The QBZ is smoother, more forgiving, and easier to control in extended fights, but the M277 has something the others do not: pure, unshakable consistency. When you master its rhythm, it becomes a weapon that performs well across almost every range. It is not just another carbine, it is a skill test wrapped in a suppressor. So, if you're looking for a weapon that rewards precision, patience, and a bit of muscle memory, the M277 is definitely worth your time. It might not be love at first sight, but once you get the hang of it, you will find yourself winning fights you did not think were possible with a carbine. It is tough, it is punishing, but it is also one of the most satisfying weapons to master in Battlefield 6. The AK-205 in Battlefield 6 is the kind of weapon that rewards the calm, calculated players, the ones who like to take their time, line up the perfect shot, and absolutely melt someone from across the map. This carbine barely moves when you fire it. The recoil is so low it almost feels like cheating. That makes it a dream to use with high magnification optics, letting you tap enemies at long range with pinpoint precision. But here's where things get tricky. The AK-205 does not hit very hard. Its damage per shot is low, and at a fire rate of 720 rounds per minute, it just does not have the raw power to win close quarters battles. If you find yourself turning a corner and facing someone with an assault rifle or a submachine gun, you are probably going down before you can even react. This gun was never meant to be used up close. It thrives when you keep your distance and control the fight from afar. Now, the real magic of the AK-205 comes from one specific attachment: synthetic tips. This little piece of tech completely transforms the weapon. It boosts your headshot multiplier from 1.34 to 1.75, which is a massive jump. Your base headshot damage goes from 27 to 35, and even at 100 meters, you are still hitting for around 25. That is the kind of damage that can make enemies panic before they even spot where the shots are coming from. With synthetic tips equipped, the AK-205 turns into a headhunter's dream. it becomes one of the most lethal carbines in the game, but only if you can land those headshots. This is not a weapon for players who spray and pray. It is for the ones who take pride in accuracy. Every missed shot costs you, but every clean headshot feels incredibly satisfying. So, if you are the type of player who enjoys precision over power, and you like to play the role of a marksman without switching to a designated marksman rifle, the AK-205 will feel perfect. It is not the best all-around weapon, but it shines in the hands of a disciplined player who knows how to control positioning and pick their shots. Learn to aim for the head, and this thing will make you feel unstoppable. The M417A2 is the kind of weapon that looks unassuming until you actually start using it, and then it hits you, literally and figuratively. This carbine is built for players who want to dominate those medium-range engagements, where precision and control matter more than pure speed. At close range, it hits like a truck, dealing 33 damage per shot. That means you can drop an enemy in just 3 well-placed hits. Combine that with its predictable recoil pattern, and you have a weapon that feels incredibly stable once you learn its rhythm. What really sets the M417A2 apart from other carbines like the SG553R is how it handles that recoil. While both share similar base damage, the M417A2 just feels smoother. When you burst fire, the grouping stays tight and consistent, making it perfect for medium-range bursts or picking off enemies from cover. Plus, it keeps more of its stopping power at distance. 20 damage per hit at long range compared to the 17 you'll get from most other carbines in its class. That extra bit of damage might not sound like much on paper, but it makes a big difference in actual combat. However, this power comes with a cost. The M417A2 has the slowest fire rate among all carbines in Battlefield 6, sitting at just 654 rounds per minute. That might not seem terrible until you miss a few shots in close quarters and realize your opponent's already emptied half a magazine into you. It is a weapon that absolutely punishes missed shots. You need to make every bullet count. And speaking of bullets, you do not get many of them to start with. The M417A2 comes with a 20-round magazine by default, which feels pretty tight for a carbine. You can unlock a 25-round magazine, but that requires reaching rank 29 mastery, so you will be stuck with a smaller mag for quite a while. It forces you to be careful, disciplined, and deliberate with your shots. No mindless spraying here. All in all, the M417A2 is a weapon for players who enjoy methodical, skill-based gunfights. It is not the fastest or flashiest carbine, but when you use it right, it delivers some of the most satisfying kills in the game. If you can control its slow fire rate and make your shots count, the M417A2 turns into a true mid-range sledgehammer, steady, powerful, and absolutely devastating in the right hands. The SOR300SC is one of those weapons that make you go, wait, what exactly is this supposed to be? It sits awkwardly between being a close quarters brawler and a mid-range marksman rifle. On paper, it looks like a mid-range gun. It's incredibly accurate, has barely any recoil, and deals a solid 33 damage up close. When you first fire it, you'll notice how smooth it feels. The weapon barely moves, even while you're strafing or firing in short bursts, which gives it this laser-like precision that makes landing shots almost effortless. But here's where it gets weird. Despite feeling like a mid-range gun, the SOR300SC really struggles the moment you step past 25 meters. Its damage starts to drop off hard, and with its low fire rate, it just can't keep up with faster, more aggressive carbines. From 10 to 25 meters, its time to kill sits at about 0.3 seconds, which isn't bad, but in a game as fast-paced as Battlefield 6, that small delay can cost you fights against weapons that hit harder or shoot faster. Still, there's something really enjoyable about using this gun. The SOR300SC is so stable that you never have to wrestle with it. You can confidently aim, track targets, and fire, knowing your bullets will land exactly where you want them to. That kind of control is rare among carbines. It's the type of weapon that makes you feel like a better player because it rewards accuracy and punishes sloppy aim in the most honest way possible. Of course, its biggest limitation is range. Once you go beyond 30 meters, this thing becomes little more than a tickle gun. You can try burst firing or tap shooting, but the damage fall off is just too steep to make it worthwhile. That means you really have to play smart, stick to tight spaces, short sightlines, and situations where you can take advantage of that low recoil and perfect stability. All things considered, the SOR 300SC earns its spot in the middle of the carbine rankings. It might not have the raw power of the top tier options, but it's by far one of the easiest weapons to use effectively. If you're tired of fighting your gun and just want something smooth, predictable, and accurate within that sweet 25-meter range, the SOR 300SC is absolutely worth picking up. Just don't expect it to save you in long-range duels.
The SG553R is one of those carbines that blurs the line between categories. It feels more like a full-fledged assault rifle than a traditional carbine. This thing packs serious punch, dealing roughly 33.4 damage per shot up close, which means you can take out enemies in just 3 well-placed body shots. That kind of stopping power instantly makes it stand out, especially when you remember that most carbines need 4 or 5 hits to finish someone off. It's got that perfect blend of power and versatility that makes it a great all-around option if you're comfortable managing its quirks. What's interesting about the SG553R is how consistent it feels across different engagement ranges. Even though the listed damage is 33, you'll actually be dealing somewhere between 25 and 17 damage as the distance increases from 10 to 80 meters. That keeps it competitive with most other carbines in Battlefield 6, but it doesn't necessarily outshine them. At around 80 meters, you'll need about 6 bullets to drop an opponent, identical to the QBZ's performance at that range. So while the damage feels great up close, you can't expect it to dominate every distance. The biggest drawback of the SG553R is definitely its recoil, especially on the horizontal axis. Vertical recoil is manageable, but the side-to-side kick can be frustrating if you try to hold the trigger down for too long. It's got that 720 rounds per minute fire rate, which sounds decent, but it becomes tricky to take advantage of that speed when the weapon starts bouncing unpredictably. Burst firing or short, controlled sprays are absolutely necessary if you want to keep your aim on target. In that sense, it sits just a notch below the QBZ and M4A1 in terms of user-friendliness. Those weapons feel smoother and more forgiving, while the SG553R demands a little more control and discipline. However, for players who take the time to master its recoil pattern, it's a rewarding weapon. When you get into the flow, landing bursts cleanly and hitting your 3-shot kills, you start to see why this rifle has such a strong reputation among skilled players. Unlocking the SG553R, though, is not a walk in the park. You'll need to complete the Danger Close assignment, which requires getting kills with the QBZ or M277 and landing 300 headshots. And just to clarify, you don't need 300 headshot kills, just head hits, which makes the grind a little more forgiving. Still, it's a challenge that demands both time and accuracy, so this gun isn't something you'll have access to early on. Once you finally unlock it, though, the SG553R feels worth the effort. It's a versatile, hard-hitting weapon that rewards good aim and patience. It may not have the laser-like control of the M417A2 or the smooth handling of the QBZ, but it brings raw power and reliability to the table. If you're looking for a carbine that bridges the gap between close-range aggression and mid-range precision, the SG553R is exactly that, a true workhorse that delivers when it matters. The GRTBC is one of those weapons that feels instantly familiar the moment you pick it up. It's a bullpup-style carbine built for close-range engagements, and in terms of performance, it's basically the M4A1's twin, with just enough tweaks to give it its own identity. You unlock it at rank 41, so it's not something you'll get your hands on right away, but when you do, it's a surprisingly well-balanced gun. It's smooth, reliable, and feels great in close and mid-range fights. What sets the GRTBC apart from the M4A1 is how it redistributes its stats. You get a noticeable boost in base precision, control, and mobility, which means your aim feels tighter and your movement a bit snappier. It's especially good if you like aggressive run-and-gun playstyles where speed and flexibility matter more than raw damage output. The trade-off, though, is that your hip-fire accuracy, fire rate, and reload speed all take a hit. It's not a massive downgrade, but it's enough to feel the difference if you're used to the M4's snappier reloads and slightly faster fire tempo. Another key difference is the recoil pattern. The M4A1's recoil tends to pull to the right, but the GRTBC climbs to the left. That might sound like a small detail, but it can really throw you off if you've spent hours mastering the M4. The good news is that the recoil is still very manageable, actually a bit easier to handle overall, thanks to the gun's higher control stat and slower fire rate. Once you adjust to that leftward pull, you'll find this weapon incredibly comfortable to shoot. Of course, the GRTBC isn't perfect. Its reload animation feels sluggish, especially in intense fights where every second counts. And while it performs well up close, its effectiveness drops sharply at longer ranges. You can still pick off enemies at mid-range with careful bursts, but beyond that, you're better off switching to something like the M417A2 or even the AK205 if you want consistency over distance. In short, the GRTBC is the weapon of choice for players who love the M4A1 but want something that feels a little smoother and more controlled. It trades some raw speed and reload efficiency for stability and movement, making it an excellent pick for duels and close-range skirmishes. If you can live with the slower reload and the opposite recoil direction, you'll find that the GRTBC delivers the same satisfying versatility that made the M4A1A fan favorite, just with a slightly different flavor. The QBZ-192 is one of those weapons that feels like it was built for everyone, whether you are a casual player just trying to stay alive or a seasoned veteran chasing high kill streaks. This carbine just works. It's smooth, reliable, and performs beautifully right out of the box, even without attachments. It may not have the fastest fire rate in the game, but what it lacks in speed, it more than makes up for in consistency and control. This gun feels stable in your hands, letting you confidently engage targets at all sorts of ranges. In terms of raw stats, the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where the QBZ-192 goes head-to-head with the M4A1. Both weapons share the same minimum and maximum damage values, but where really shines is its recoil, or rather its lack of it. This gun barely kicks. You can fire in full auto and still maintain impressive accuracy, even when engaging enemies at medium to long distances. It almost feels like you are cheating when you realize how easy it is to land consecutive hits without fighting your crosshair. That controllability is what makes the QBZ-192 such a strong all-around weapon. It bridges the gap between close quarters and range combat in a way that few carbines can. Most carbines either excel in one area or the other, but the QBZ sits comfortably in the middle. It's fast enough for close-range fights and stable enough to compete with rifles at a distance. If you're looking for a single gun to do it all, this is probably the closest you can get. However, there is a small catch. The QBZ-192 is not something you can just pick up right away. You'll need to complete the Danger Close assignment to unlock it. And that means you must first reach rank 23 before you can even start the challenge. It is not the toughest grind in Battlefield 6, but it definitely slows down access to one of the best carbines in the game. On top of that, the QBZ comes with fewer attachment options compared to its competitors, but honestly, it performs so well out of the gate that you won't even miss them. All in all, the QBZ-192 earns its title as the best all-around carbine for a reason. It's easy to use, ridiculously consistent, and powerful enough to hang with higher-tier rifles. Once you unlock it, you might find it hard to put down. It's that perfect balance of precision, control, and versatility, the kind of gun that makes you feel confident no matter what kind of fight you find yourself in. The M4A1 is the undisputed king of close quarters combat in Battlefield 6. It is the weapon that almost every player falls back on when they just want something that works. No gimmicks, no complicated attachments, just raw reliability. From the moment you unlock it at rank 2, the M4A1 proves why it's such a fan favorite. Its mix of solid accuracy, fast handling, and a blistering 900 rounds per minute fire rate makes it one of the most versatile and satisfying weapons in the game. Up close, this gun absolutely melts people. If you hit your shots within roughly 8 meters, the M4A1 can drop an enemy in just 0.2 seconds. That is an insanely fast time to kill, putting it right at the top of the carbine food chain for close-range fights. It's the kind of weapon that lets you confidently push into buildings, flank enemies, and win head-on duels before they even know what hit them. The recoil is manageable too, fast but not wild, so you can keep your shots tight even during rapid bursts. What really makes the M4A1 stand out is how reliable it feels. It's effective at close and mid-range, and if you learn to tap fire, you can even land hits at longer distances. It's not a precision weapon by any means, but its consistency makes it a perfect all-purpose tool for any map. Whether you're defending an objective or pushing through a tight corridor, the M4A1 just feels right in almost every scenario. Of course, it's not without its downsides. That lightning-fast fire rate can make the gun feel a bit wild for players who prefer more controlled weapons, and the impressive 0.2 second time to kill only applies within extremely short distances. Once you start shooting beyond 80 meters, you'll notice the damage drop-off, slower bullet velocity, and heavier recoil kicking in. It's not impossible to use at long range, but you'll definitely have to switch to single fire mode or carefully burst your shots to stay accurate. Even with those limitations, the M4A1 remains the most dependable carbine in Battlefield 6. It performs well on every map, in every situation, and against nearly every weapon class when used properly. Every carbine in the game starts losing damage past the 10-meter mark, except for the M277, but even that doesn't stop the M4A1 from dominating close-range encounters. It's fast, flexible, and deadly in the hands of anyone who knows how to control it, which is why it continues to reign as the king of close quarters. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.